We've all had that eureka moment at one point or another in our lives. That moment where we realize our parents aren't exactly superheroes. That moment where we realize that as kids, we thought they had everything figured out. But as you get older, you realize they actually don't. You might be at a point in life now where you're realizing that as your parents get older and they're approaching retirement, you realize that their retirement might not be rosy, their retirement might not be happening. They still have to work, or even worse, you are their retirement plan. Hi, my name is Adrian, and this is Always Talk Money. I like to talk money as it relates to everyday life. I don't have any investing tips or get rich quick schemes, just a candid conversation amongst friends. And today we're going to talk about how the retirement crisis could potentially destroy American families. Let's get into the video. Americans tend to be the victims of shiny object syndrome. That's why we are in the financial crisis that we are today. And Yahoo Finance did a survey of prospective retirees, asking them some of the reasons why they were not focusing on retirement or not saving as much as they needed to. And their number one answer was inflation, which is very interesting because in the last 2 to 3 years, inflation has been a thing, but it hasn't been a thing for the last 2 to 3 decades. So if the newest thing that's happening financially in the economic cycle is the number one reason why you are not saving for retirement, it tends to reason that that's shiny object syndrome, but in the opposite. If you are close to retirement age and the last 2 to 3 decades you haven't been building daily habits in terms of ensuring you're going to have a comfortable retirement, you complaining about inflation in the last 2 to 3 years, why you don't have enough in retirement, is just a false narrative. How can something that has happened just recently be the main reason why you haven't done better to set up your retirement in the last 2 to 3 decades? According to inflationcalculator.com, inflation hasn't been above 2.3% in the last 10 years. That's really great. The real reason Americans aren't set up for retirement is, as I said, shiny object syndrome. You check into your parents' finances and their finances might be a mess, but you go to their home, they live in a nice neighborhood with a nice suburban home. They probably have a basement full of stuff that they hardly ever use. They probably have 2 to 3 cars, and your dad probably has 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 very expensive golf clubs. These things in America tend to be the signals of upward mobility. You know, they're keeping up with the Joneses in the suburbs and so on and so forth. But it's actually what's stopping you from building wealth. No, I'm not saying you shouldn't aspire to live better, do better, and be living in an abundance type of mindset, living very well, taking vacations and so on and so forth. But you have to understand that you have to do it in the right order. The acquiring of things just to acquire things is never going to be the right way. You have to be frugal for a time. You have to delay gratification. And so when you get to your latter years in life, that's when you can enjoy it. In the same survey, 71%, that's 2/3 of boomers say they don't feel like they have enough to have a comfortable retirement. And that's sad because the trickle-down effect is going to affect the younger generations in that family tree. This can destroy families. Apart from inflation, the respondents in the survey said that debt, market volatility, a stagnant income, and increase in expenses were things that added to them not being able to contribute. So let's break that down. Debt, you bought too much house, you have too many cars, you took too many vacations on credit cards. Market volatility, well, we all know that in finance, we have a recession every 10 to 12 years. It just happens in cycles. Stagnant income. If you aren't improving yourself, reading, writing, educating, it doesn't mean necessarily going to school, but if you aren't constantly improving yourself, you are not going to demand a higher salary financially in the job market. And then an increase in expenses, which is also people practicing shiny object syndrome. As soon as you've lived in your house for 5 to 7 years, you want to upgrade. You want to upgrade the cars. You want to have more kids, which is an admirable thing, but you have to be strategic about these things. Everything that you do is a financial decision. That's why I have this channel, Always Talk Money. The clothes that you wear, the car that you drive, the job that you have, the neighborhood that you live in, the amount of children you have, the school that you go to, everything is connected to money. And so if you don't take personal finance seriously, if you don't treat yourself, your family, and the decision you make in life like a business decisions, you will be at fault for how your life turns out close to retirement, and nobody's coming to save you. Bloomberg estimates that the current cohort of people that's slated to be retired are $7 trillion collectively short of where they need to be financially. That doesn't paint a pretty picture. And as I said, that's a trickle-down effect that's going to affect the whole family tree, because now grandma got to rely on the parents, and the parents got to rely on the kids, and everybody is just going to be stuck, right? Because if grandma and the parents can't work anymore, then you have the kids that are the only ones in the job market, but instead of them improving their lives and getting ahead, they have to take their resources and split it across their grandparents, their parents, and then even their children. And that is not a way to build a family tree of wealth, of prosperity. And you're just putting those children behind the 8 ball, because those kids that are taking care of parents and grandparents are going to be depending on their own children. Using your children as a retirement plan is one of the biggest no-nos. I personally think no one should be doing that. That's just simply unfair, in my opinion. And listen, there are wider societal factors at play as well. The pension system has largely gone away. Employers aren't required to have, 401k, health savings account, and so on and so forth. And so you have to take your finances in your own hand. You can't depend on a pension. You can't depend on Social Security, because for one, Social Security, even if you get it, it's not going to replace 100% of your income. So that's a no-no. You can't rely on a company giving you a 401k match. That is largely just unreliable, and it depends on each company. And obviously, if you know companies, they're going to be profit focused, and them giving you an employee match is going to eat into their profits. So yes, those are the societal factors that you have to go up against. There's no more pensions anymore. Whatever I do financially for myself in retirement, it's all on me. And I think a lot more people should adopt this mindset, whether you are in a job, whether you are an entrepreneur. Because the thing about it is, you switch jobs, companies go out of business, and then there are no pensions, there are no 401ks. So you have to depend on yourself. And as I said, Social Security is not going to replace the income level that you had when you were working. So if you're not saving, investing, building assets outside of your working day to day, you are going to fall behind. You have to have self-reliance. You have to take your finances very seriously. And I'm not telling everybody to come out here and be entrepreneurs. If you have a 9 to 5, make sure you're investing in the markets outside of your 401k. If you're not making enough money, find ways to increase your income, whether that be a side hustle, whether that be a whole new job, a career switch, whether that be, maybe your wife is a stay-at-home mom, or your husband is a stay-at-home husband. Having both people in the home work, especially if the kids are at school, is also going to be necessary. And by and large, you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to feel like you are depending on you. You're not waiting on Big Daddy government or your company to bail you out. And that is the American way. The American dream is for everyone to be able to be free, to be doing what they want to do when they want to do it. We are not controlled by the government. We are not controlled by our jobs. We have choices. And unfortunately, a lot of people think they don't have choices. A lot of people think they have to depend on Social Security or the government or their job. Create your own job. Even if you want to keep your 9 to 5, create your own sources of income outside of that. And that doesn't necessarily mean a side hustle. That could mean just saving up a bunch of money, putting it in the market, allowing it that time to compound interest and work for you. And as you know, I say I don't give investing tips in these videos because I think they're too short and I can't get in depth to give the type of investing that I do. But if you want an investing booklet, I just put it out last week. I have 7 ETFs that I have been tracking for years. I use them personally, and these ETFs return 8% or more historically over 10 years or more. So these aren't new things like crypto and NFTs. I don't invest in anything that's younger than 10 years. That's just me personally. You can do different, but I think these ETFs will more than pay for themselves. So check the link down below, alwaystalkmoney.com. Go to store, check it out. As I said, I personally believe in these ETFs. I invest in them personally. And I know if you buy and hold, you cannot lose money on these ETFs. Buy and hold. We don't do day trading. We don't do any type of get rich quick type of things. We want buy and hold type investors in this community. But that's it for the end of the video. Like, subscribe, share, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.